On Detroit's infamous 7 Mile Road, survival isn't a choice. It's the only option. Every corner hides danger. Every night brings blood. And for those who dare to live here, there's only one rule: make it out alive. 7 Mile Road, Detroit, a name that sends shivers down the spine of anyone familiar with America's most dangerous neighborhoods. This stretch of cracked asphalt, dotted with abandoned homes and decaying storefronts, has become one of the deadliest no-go zones in the United States. To live here, or even to enter as an outsider, is to gamble with your life. For decades, 7 Mile has been ruled by fear, ruled by the 7 Mile Bloods, one of the most notorious gangs in Detroit. In this world, survival doesn't come with buy your way to the top. It comes only with respect, and respect in the streets is earned in blood. Drug dealers, hustlers, killers, and thieves thrive here, each prepared to do whatever it takes to defend their territory. Murder, robbery, and execution-style killings aren't random, they're routine. A 24/7, 365-day cycle of crime and retribution, where loyalty is tested by violence and betrayal often comes from within. For some, the only exit is death. For others, it's prison. Because once you're in, there is no easy way out. Detroit, once the proud Motor City of America, the beating industrial heart of the nation. In the golden era of the automobile industry, Detroit symbolized the American dream. Factories roared with life. Families thrived. The city was booming with over 2 million residents. People came from everywhere to work for Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. A good job meant a steady paycheck, a house in the suburbs, and a future for the kids. But that was then. Today, the Motor City is a shadow of its former self. When the automobile industry collapsed and factories closed their gates, so did the dreams of thousands of families. Jobs disappeared overnight. Poverty spread like wildfire, and in its place, crime, drugs, and despair filled the void. The wealthy and middle class fled to suburbs. What remained in Detroit were hollowed-out neighborhoods, collapsing houses, empty schools, and entire streets swallowed by weeds. In many areas, abandoned houses now outnumber the occupied ones. These deserted homes aren't just ruins. They're hiding places, drug stash houses, or sometimes even tombs for those who crossed the wrong people. The city that once built cars for the world is now infamous for its violent crime rate, which remains 5 times higher than the national average. And at the center of it all, 7 Mile Road, a frontline battlefield in the bloody wars between rival gangs. On the west side of 7 Mile, the 7 Mile Bloods reign supreme. For outsiders, they're just another gang. But for insiders, they are family, protection, and identity. Their leader, known only as Boss Money, is feared and respected across the city. Money doesn't just run the gang. He is the gang. He grew up here, born into the streets, following a long line of gang members before him. He carries the scars of a life where weakness is punished and strength is rewarded with power. To Money, gang life isn't a choice, it's destiny. And around him are his trusted lieutenants. There's Mo, his ruthless right-hand man, the enforcer who handles dirty work. He doesn't talk much, but everyone knows he doesn't need to. His gun speaks loud enough. And then there's Meech, the street dealer who's been selling drugs for over a decade. Behind his calm smile lies a man who has survived robberies, police raids, and countless enemies who wanted him dead. Together, they run the drug trade with an iron fist. Their product of choice? Crack cocaine. Once thought of as a relic of the 1980s, crack remains alive and thriving here. It's cheap, addictive, and devastating. Poverty and hopelessness fuel the demand, and the gang supplies it with ruthless efficiency. For Boss Money, 1 kilogram of cocaine mixed into crack brings in $40,000 a month on the streets. But that money comes at a deadly price. Everyone, from stick-up kids to rival gangs, even the police, wants a piece. Betrayal lurks at every corner. Even your best friend could kill you for a handful of cash or a stash of product. As Mo himself puts it, keep a strap. That's the only way to protect yourself out here. The business of crack on 7 Mile isn't just about selling drugs. It's about controlling territory, block by block, corner by corner. The 7 Mile Bloods have carved out their empire like warlords in a battlefield. Every street corner is valuable. Every gas station is a marketplace, every abandoned house a potential stash spot. M.O., Boss Money's right-hand man, knows this better than anyone. His job isn't just to enforce discipline within the gang. It's to protect their turf. With so many rival crews lurking nearby, he has to constantly stay alert. When M.O. moves through 7 Mile, he studies every street like a soldier crossing enemy lines. A wrong turn can mean crossing into a rival gang's territory. And in Detroit, territorial lines are invisible but deadly. Outsiders can't always tell where one gang's rule ends and another begins, but M.O. knows. For him, one street corner could mean life or death. If someone from the rival side comes through here, he says, it's automatic problems. Could be a fight, could be a shooting, could be a stabbing. But one thing for sure, it's going down. That's why the Blood stockpile weapons. Guns aren't just tools. They're the difference between survival and extinction. On 7 Mile, firepower equals respect. Without it, you're a target. The gang avoids graffiti tags now. In the past, graffiti announced territory, but it also drew the attention of police and bounty hunters. Instead, signs of loyalty are subtle. Colors worn, handshakes exchanged, coded names on social media. For the police, these little breadcrumbs are sometimes enough to track them down. For members of the 7 Mile Bloods were arrested after posting their hit lists online, bragging about murders and robberies. For M.O., that was a warning. His motto is simple. If they don't know your face, they don't look for your face. But 7 Mile isn't only ruled by the gang. It's also a hunting ground for bounty hunters. Because in Detroit, the police don't always have the manpower or the courage to chase gang members deep into the no-go zones. That's where bounty hunters come in. One of the most feared teams in Detroit is led by Tommy DeLong, a former elite special forces officer turned bounty hunter. With over 2,500 arrests to his name, Tommy knows the streets as well as any gangster. His partner, Poe, is a grizzled veteran who's been shot, stabbed, and nearly killed more times than he can count. For bounty hunters, the work is brutal. They're after fugitives who often have nothing left to lose. Each mission is a gamble with death. And for Tommy's crew, tonight's target is a big one. A dealer tied directly to the 7 Mile Bloods. A man out on bond for cocaine trafficking and weapons charges. The reward for his capture, $50,000. But money isn't the only motivation. For Tommy and his team, it's about making sure fugitives don't disappear into the shadows of Detroit, where the law has little reach. As they prepare their raid, Tommy loads his gear. Bulletproof vest, baton, pepper spray, sidearm. This guy's dangerous, he mutters. Execution-style shootings are happening almost every week now. When someone says they're going to kill, they mean it. And the most chilling fact? Many of the shooters on 7 Mile aren't hardened men. They're kids. Teenagers barely old enough to drive, but already carrying automatic weapons and kill orders. Meanwhile, life on 7 Mile continues its brutal rhythm. For Meech, the street dealer, crack is his lifeline. His phone never stops ringing. He sells in small quantities, $10 rocks, $20 bags, but the volume is endless. Every addict needs another hit every day. And in a city where 1 in 6 people struggles with drug addiction, the market never dries up. Meech knows the risk. He's been robbed before, nearly killed more than once. But without the gang, without the drug trade, he'd have nothing. No home, no food, no future. To him, dealing isn't crime, it's survival. You can choose to be broke and starving, he says, or you can get some affiliations. Nobody makes you do this. For me, it was an easy choice. I want money. I want to eat. As he delivers his product to customers, Meech moves cautiously. Gas stations are his preferred drop-off points, but they're also death traps. Shootouts, robberies, random attacks. They happen almost daily. And sometimes, innocent bystanders get caught in the crossfire. Just blocks away lives Michael, a man who once walked the same path as Meech and M.O., a former gang member. Michael grew up in a red zone, one of Detroit's deadliest areas. For him, joining a gang wasn't about glory, it was about survival. Quick cash, respect, and the illusion of power drew him in. But the price was steep. Friends murdered, nights spent in jail and the constant threat of death. It wasn't until his son was born that Michael decided to break free. "I was 16 when I started selling drugs," he recalls. "By 18, I was locked up. That changed me. I wanted to stay free, stay alive for my kids." Now, Michael works a regular job, earning far less than he ever made hustling, but he sees it as a small price to pay for a chance at redemption. He dreams of moving his family out of Detroit, away from the death zone, but with poverty gripping the city, that dream feels distant. "Anything can happen out here," he says. "People will kill you over $20. That's how bad it is. But I want my kids to know there's another way." And then there's Star, at just 24. Star's already spent 5 years walking the streets as a prostitute. For her, survival means risking her life every night. Every client could be a killer. Every corner could be a setup. She works without a pimp, which makes her even more vulnerable. But she refuses to hand over her money to anyone else. Her only goal is simple: make enough money to take her children away from this nightmare. But the streets don't forgive. Her brother was murdered, his body dumped and staged to look like a suicide, betrayed by his own friends. His death is a constant reminder that loyalty here means nothing. Star charges $200 an hour, sometimes $600 for a night. On good days, she makes thousands. On bad days, she barely survives. But in Detroit, prostitution is illegal. If caught, she faces fines, jail time, and worse, violence from rival prostitutes defending their territory with knives and guns. For Star, every night is a gamble. She knows one bad client, one wrong car, could mean the end, yet she keeps going because, in her words, "What else is there? Once you're in this life, there's no way out." Detroit wasn't always like this. Once, this city was the pride of America, the engine of the automobile industry, home to Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors. Workers came from all over the country for a chance at steady paychecks, new cars, and suburban houses. In the 1950s, Detroit had more than 2 million residents. It was a city of music, prosperity, and dreams. Motown records echoed across the world. But then, it all began to collapse. Factories closed. Jobs disappeared. Families fled to the suburbs. White flight drained the city's tax base, leaving behind neighborhoods of poverty and decay. By the early 2000s, Detroit had lost more than half its population. What was once the richest city in America had become one of the poorest. Today, fewer than 700,000 people remain, surrounded by the skeletons of the past. Abandoned factories, empty schools, whole blocks of deserted houses. For gangs like the 7 Mile Bloods, these ruins became perfect territory. Empty houses became stash spots. Abandoned buildings became safe havens for guns, drugs, or bodies. Mo knows these ruins better than anyone. Tonight, his mission is critical: retrieve the gang's new weapon delivery. A shipment of pistols, revolvers, and semi-automatics bought on the black market, their serial numbers scratched off. Guns that will fuel the Blood's dominance for months to come. Mo doesn't travel light. His pistol is always loaded, one in the chamber, ready to fire. Entering an abandoned house in Detroit is never safe. You don't know who or what you might find inside. It's a 50-50 shot, he admits. Could be empty, could be an ambush. But in this world, hesitation means death. He steps inside, senses sharp, finger on the trigger. At the same time, across the city, the bounty hunters close in on their own target. Their fugitive, a drug dealer connected to the 7 Mile Bloods, was last seen near an abandoned house not far from Mo's route. Tommy's team moves carefully. They know the risks of going into the no-go zone. Neighbors watch silently, unsure whether to help or stay quiet. In Detroit, snitching can mean death. The house looks deserted, but a faint light flickers inside. Tommy signals his men. They circle the property, checking for weak spots. Every creak of wood, every broken window could hide danger. Bad boys bail enforcement. Tommy yells as they breach the basement door. "Show your hands." But it's empty. The fugitive is gone. Just another ghost in Detroit's underworld. The hunters regroup, frustrated. One wrong lead, hours wasted. But the chase continues. Back on 7 Mile, Meech is grinding. His phone buzzes nonstop with addicts desperate for their next hit. Each sale is small, but adds up. By midnight, he can clear $1,000 or more, money few regular jobs in Detroit can ever provide. Meech doesn't see himself as a criminal. To him, he's just providing a service. Crack, heroin, cocaine, the big three. He delivers what people demand. I don't think this life is illegal, he shrugs. This is natural to me. Without this, I'd be broke, homeless, out here starving. But every deal carries a risk. Rival gangs could attack, police could raid, or a desperate addict could turn violent. Still, Meech keeps moving. To him, hustling is survival. And then there's Star. As the night deepens, she stands on a dimly lit corner, watching cars roll by. Every headlight could mean money or danger. For her, survival isn't about drugs or guns. It's about selling herself. She tries to keep regulars, clients she trusts, but the streets are unpredictable. Rival prostitutes guard their turf fiercely, sometimes with knives, sometimes with guns. And pimps demand tribute from women who cross into their territory. Star doesn't have a pimp. She's on her own, which makes her vulnerable. I've been robbed, set up, snatched up, dropped off in the middle of nowhere, she admits. But I keep going back out. What else am I supposed to do? Her goal is simple: save enough money to get her kids out of Detroit, away from the danger, the gangs, the poverty. But every night on the streets brings new risks. And deep down, she knows one bad client could end everything. Michael, meanwhile, sits in his small house in the red zone. The news blares in the background. Another shooting. Another innocent victim caught in the crossfire. For him, this isn't just news. It's daily reality. There ain't a day that goes by where somebody doesn't get shot, he says. 20 shootings in one night during the holiday. That's Detroit now. Michael wants out. He wants to move his kids to a safer place, to give them the childhood he never had. But moving takes money, and money is scarce. So for now, he stays, working shifts, trying to shield his children from the life outside their door. As midnight falls, Detroit changes. The day belongs to the weary, but the night belongs to the gangs. The entire stretch of 7 Mile transforms into a deadly no-go zone. The risk of being murdered in Detroit is 11 times higher than in New York City. Police avoid these streets at night. For residents, the only safe rule is simple: don't leave your house after dark. But for people like M.O., Meech, and Star, night isn't something to fear. It's business. Tonight, guns will change hands. Drugs will be sold. Deals will be made. And somewhere out there, bounty hunters are still hunting. The sun is gone now, and with it, any illusion of safety. Night has fallen over Detroit. On 7 Mile Road, the glow of streetlights barely cuts through the darkness. Broken windows glimmer faintly. Empty houses loom like watchmen. And in every shadow, something could be waiting. An addict, a thief, a rival, a killer. This is when the city comes alive. M.O. walks fast, every sense sharp. His destination, a stash house. The place is nothing more than a crumbling shell, one of thousands abandoned when Detroit's factories shut down. He pushes the door open, pistol raised. Inside, the smell of mold and dust hits first. The floorboards groan under his boots. Somewhere in the distance, a rat scurries. He makes his way to the back room. A duffel bag waits in the corner. Inside, guns, pistols, revolvers, a few shotguns, all with their serial numbers scratched off. Weapons bought with blood money. Weapons that will soon return to the streets. For M.O., this is business as usual. But he knows the cost. Every new gun means another body, another name in the news, another mother crying over a casket. Still, in the world of 7 Mile, guns equal survival, and survival is all that matters. Meanwhile, not far away, Meech is in motion. His car is his office, his phone his lifeline. Crack, heroin, cocaine, the orders never stopped. Tonight, business is good. But as he pulls into a gas station to make a handoff, he spots something. A group of men, standing too close, watching him too carefully. Rival crew, Meech knows the rules. One wrong move and it's war. His heart races as he finishes the sale, eyes never leaving the group. Then, calmly, he pulls away. Not tonight. Not here. But the tension is clear. The rival gangs are watching, waiting. It's only a matter of time before someone makes the first move. Across the city, Star stands on a dim corner. A car slows down. The window rolls open. She leans in, forcing a smile. The man inside makes an offer, $200, enough for groceries, enough to pay a bill, enough to keep her kids fed another week. She gets in, but every ride is a gamble. Is this a regular client or someone with darker intentions? She doesn't know. And in Detroit, too many women like her have disappeared without a trace. Some found in alleys, some left in cars, some never found at all. Star grips her phone tight, whispering a prayer that tonight she makes it home. And then there are the bounty hunters. Tommy and his crew have been chasing their fugitive for days, following tips that led to nothing. But tonight, their informant swears he saw the man slip into a house just blocks from 7 Mile. The team gears up, Kevlar vests, tasers, firearms. The hunt is on. They drive slowly, headlights off, scanning the broken houses. Every window could hide their target. Every shadow could hold an ambush. Tommy knows the risk. On 7 Mile, gangs don't hesitate to open fire, even on police. For bounty hunters, it's even worse. They're outsiders. No badge, no backup. If things go wrong, it's just them against the streets. Still, they press on. $50,000 is on the line. The night deepens. Mo carries the gang's new guns out of the stash house. Meech drives through rival territory, every turn a risk. Star disappears into the darkness with a stranger, and the bounty hunters creep closer, hunting their prey. Detroit is on edge. Something is about to break. The air on 7 Mile feels heavy. It's past midnight now. The city sleeps, but not here. Here, the streets are alive with danger. Mo leaves the stash house with a duffel bag. Every step feels louder than it should. He pulls his hoodie tighter, his pistol under his jacket. He knows rival eyes are watching. If they catch him carrying these guns, they won't hesitate to kill him. Across town, Meech's phone buzzes again. Another order. He doesn't stop. He can't stop. This grind, day and night, is what keeps food on his table. But as he drives through a side street, headlights flare behind him. Too close. Too fast. He tenses. Rival car. It swerves, matching his speed. The windows roll down. He catches the glint of metal. Guns. Meech slams the gas. Tires screech. Bullets crack into the night. Glass shatters. He swerves hard into an alley, heart pounding. Somehow he escapes, but he knows the war is far from over. Star, meanwhile, is still out. The stranger she got in the car with earlier dropped her off, money in hand. But survival means going back for more. She heads toward another corner when suddenly, gunfire. Loud. Close. Too close. She freezes. 2 cars speed past, spraying bullets at each other. Windows explode. A body drops to the sidewalk just a few feet away from her. Her knees shake. She runs, clutching her purse. This is what it means to work these streets. Death can find you in an instant. And then the bounty hunters. Tommy grips the steering wheel. His team sits silent, focused. Their informant swore the fugitive was here, in one of these abandoned houses along the block. They park, lights off. The street is too quiet, too still. The men gear up, weapons ready. They move slowly, scanning the darkened windows, listening for the slightest sound. Then movement. A figure slips between houses. Hood up, bag slung over his shoulder. Tommy signals. The hunters close in. What they don't know, what they can't know, is that the figure is Mo carrying the gang's fresh stash of guns. Mo senses something. The air feels wrong. He pauses, scanning the shadows. He grips his pistol tighter. In this neighborhood, hesitation can cost your life. The bounty hunters step closer. Tommy raises his flashlight, ready to yell his command. For a moment, time freezes. The gang, the hunters, the streets, all colliding in this single breath of silence. And then the night explodes. Mo spins at the sudden flash of light. Instinct takes over. He drops the bag and raises his gun. Hands up, bounty hunters. Tommy shouts, but his voice is drowned out by the crack of gunfire. Muzzle flashes light up the dark alley. The echoes slam against the abandoned brick walls like thunder. Bullets whistle past Mo. He dives behind a trash can, returning fire blindly. Sparks fly as rounds smash into rusted metal. The duffel bag, full of weapons, lies exposed in the open. The bounty hunters fan out, trying to corner him. But this is Mo's neighborhood. He knows every alley, every cut. His mind races, escape or fight. Not far away, Star hears the shots. She's crouched behind a broken car, trembling. Her heart pounds so hard she can barely breathe. She wanted one more client tonight, one more $200 bill. But instead, she's caught in the middle of a war she never chose. A stray bullet shatters a car window, inches above her head. She screams, covering her ears. Meech, still shaken from the car chase, turns on a 7-mile just in time to hear the firefight. His gut twists. He knows that sound. Those aren't random shots. That's war. He recognizes the alley, and he knows Mo is there. Slamming the brakes, Meech jumps out, gun in hand. He doesn't care about the risk anymore. That's his brother out there. Tommy and his team close in. They're trained, disciplined, but this isn't some controlled arrest. It's chaos. One of his men yells, "He's got backup incoming," as Meech charges toward them. Now it's 2 against 4. The bounty hunters tighten formation, but the Bloods are desperate, cornered, and heavily armed. The night erupts into a storm of gunfire. Glass rains from the buildings. Sirens wail faintly in the distance, but too far to matter. Star crawls into a doorway, sobbing, "Please, God, let me live." Her brother died on these streets. Now it might be her turn. She peeks out just as a bullet sparks off the pavement inches from her face. She presses her back against the cold wall, whispering to herself. If she makes out alive, she swears she'll find a way to escape this life. Mo's magazine runs dry. He's pinned, breathing hard, sweat dripping down his face. Meech crouches beside him, handing him another clip. "We ain't dying here tonight," Meech growls. Tommy signals his men to push forward. They know backup is minutes away. But in Detroit, minutes can mean the difference between catching their fugitive or burying another partner. The alley becomes a battlefield. Every shot echoes like a drumbeat of the city's decay. And somewhere in that violent exchange of bullets, lives and futures hang in the balance. Mo ducks low, firing his last rounds. The crack of bullets tears through the night. Beside him, Meech empties his pistol, his face twisted with rage. Both men know this might be their last stand. Across the alley, Tommy advances slowly, weapon steady, every nerve on fire. He's done this 1,000 times, but tonight feels different. The chaos, the desperation. It's as if the whole city is squeezing into this one fight. Suddenly, Mo takes a hit. A bullet rips through his shoulder, spinning him to the ground. He screams in pain, clutching the wound. Blood soaks his shirt. "Mo, hold on, bro." Meech shouts, dragging him behind cover. His hands shake, torn between helping Mo or firing back. But Tommy doesn't hesitate. He and his men storm forward, guns drawn, voices thundering. "Drop it. Drop your weapons." Meech freezes. His pistol is aimed, finger on the trigger, his brother bleeding beside him. In his eyes, years of hustling, grinding, and surviving all flash in one split second. And then he lowers the gun. The fight drains out of him. He drops the weapon to the pavement with a metallic clang. Hands raised, he kneels beside Mo. The hunters rush in, weapons trained, securing the scene. Tommy cuffs Meech, then signals for medics. Mo is lifted onto a stretcher, his face pale, eyes staring into black Detroit sky. A few blocks away, Star watches the flashing red and blue lights reflect against the broken windows. She hugs her knees to her chest, tears streaming down her face. For her, this is just another night in the war zone. Another reminder that survival is never guaranteed. Tomorrow, she'll be back on the same corner, chasing the same dangerous dream. And as dawn breaks over Detroit, the streets of 7 Mile are littered with empty shell casings and shattered glass. The gangs will regroup, the hunters will keep hunting, and the cycle will start again. Because here, on the most dangerous road in America, there is no escape, only survival. Backhand index pointing right. This is the brutal end of the 7 Mile story, a city trapped between despair and defiance, where every sunrise begins a new battle.